Call of the Night is cool. That's it. That's the whole video. Like, seriously. Call of the Night is cool, and that fact or underlying principle is what keeps the themes, characters, and story glued together. I guess I should note I am using cool as an all-encompassing word. By cool, I also mean slick or hot or badass or suave. Cool isn't really that versatile a word, but it's also the perfect way to encompass everything that makes Call of the Night appealing. A series being cool seems like a shallow observation, and sure, most of the time, that's not all there is to it. You might try Guilty Gear for the cool characters, but you stay for the gameplay. So me saying Call of the Night being cool is the most important aspect of it seems like a reach. And, maybe it is, so I don't know, let's see whether I'm right or wrong. So the reason I say Call of the Night being cool matters is because there's a lot of emphasis put on cool things. Or to be more specific, there's a lot of emphasis put on doing what you think is cool. One of the main themes from the beginning of the series is to never conform if you're not happy with the situation you're conforming to. It's a universal idea, but well, if you know about Japan, you know about the whole nail that sticks out, that gets hammered down thing. You know about them being kind of like a collectivist society. Over there is plenty of emphasis put on following the set path, taking the right steps, and contributing something to society. Conversely, this means being different via the way you dress, the hobbies you engage in, or the way you live has much more value because it's seen as a form of expression, as a way to communicate that you don't really wish to conform. Now look at Call of the Night. Ko drops out of middle school and decides to start going out all night because it's cool. Then he meets a vampire and decides to become a vampire himself because it seems cool. It seems like shallow setup at first, but as the series goes on, Ko discovers more and more of that cool nighttime world until eventually it is all he and we know. So much so that going back to the regular life of a middle school student 130 chapters later feels like an absolute tone shift. Again, notice the idea of something cool being synonymous to the comfort that brings and the emphasis on living a different way. Ko always felt odd playing the role of honor student, integrating himself into the typical middle school clique. Yet, when he finds something of interest, in this case living the nightlife with a hot vampire, his whole world begins to expand. He goes around having vampire adventures, getting himself into trouble and uncovering interesting secrets. He learns more about himself hanging out with vampires than he did playing the part of a proper student. When he meets his mom 130 chapters later and she asks what he's been up to, we think it's finally time to face the consequences. Except she doesn't really care at all. She's just like, well, you got your reasons, so as long as you're happy. Once more, sending the message that if there is something out there you find way more cool and fulfilling than the sad path, there's no reason to follow that path. What a cool mom. A very, very, very cool mom. As a quick side note, there is some emphasis put on dressing stylishly and looking cool as a form of expression as well. Ko seemingly doesn't have anything interesting going on because he's always played a role instead of being himself. But there are glimpses of his real interests, mainly graphic t-shirts and sneakers. It's interesting because nobody ever brings it up at first. You just kind of know because the silhouettes resemble stuff like Jordan 1s or Air Forces. But then a detective later on does explicitly state Ko's interests are sneakers, which is, just a cool little piece of environmental storytelling. If you think that's too subtle to really indicate fashion is an important aspect of the series, well, Ko literally unlocks his vampire powers by getting a cool piercing. So, yeah. Everyone else also has cool outfits. They never really go past being cool and into thematic territory like Ko's, but I mean, look at this dude with his mask, earrings, and his little glasses. Look at her wearing her oversized sweater, her leggings, and her knockoff Air Maxes. I don't know, they might be 2090s. I don't know. So yeah, even the fashion being cool matters in this series. It gives the characters personality, which makes perfect sense because fashion is one of the best ways to make a statement. There's a whole lot of reasons fashion as a form of expression matters in Japan. You can just Google it and find a bunch of articles about it, like the best way to express oneself, how spots like Harajuku exist basically as a runway for literally anyone to show off their styles, how collectivism results in people making sure their fashion sense is uniquely theirs. But I'm not getting into that here. Go check out this video by The Casual if you're interested. Anyways, back to my video. So we talked about how Ko finding all of this stuff cool is basically a roundabout way of saying even middle schoolers have the right to do what fulfills them instead of what people want them to. The emotionally stunted Ko gets more out of vampires than he did by being the ideal middle school kid. There are two triggers to his growth. First is Ko walking around at night. The other is him meeting a vampire. The night stuff is self-explanatory. We've all wanted to stay up all night at least once. A lot of emphasis is put on the night being cool. Being out at night Night is different. It being different makes it unique, and it being unique makes it cool. Lots of panels and locations provide us with glimpses of the nighttime world that paint the surroundings in service of whatever Ko and Nasuna are doing that chapter. There's a lot of emphasis put on the night because it's technically a time that exists outside the routine of many regular people. Night for a student or a member of the workforce is naturally a time to sleep. And so the only people out and about at night are the people that are different and cool. Though in this series, different and cool does mean vampires. In truth, the main theme around Call of the Night, the whole do what you want thing, doesn't really need vampires to work. But they're there. Yeah, because they're cool. You got me. They're cool. So yeah, vampires are cool. That's all. Vampires with the ability to be hot, tragic, and badass all in one package, eternally good looking and eternally tragic. What's cooler than that, right? Since vampires are one of the biggest aspects in the series, I won't spend much time explaining what they're about. Vampires thrive at night. Cole wants to be a vampire because he wants to keep living in that nighttime world. It seems like a dumb reason, but in this case, Cole wanting to completely turn into a different being is symbolic of him wanting to completely abandon what he's always felt has been a way of life that confines him to things he's not happy with. Becoming a vampire, getting cool powers, living at night, if we were to strip away the fictional aspect and leave just the themes, it basically means Ko is abandoning a way of life he finds annoying and adopting a new one he finds cool. We even see a more obvious example of this early on with Menhera-san, a dude that's just tired of his everyday life and would rather become a vampire than have to keep going through the motions. But, more importantly, because there's someone in this other life that he values and enjoys hanging out with more than anyone in his regular life. We also see the wrong perspective to have about this in Ko's friend, who eventually becomes his enemy, a kid that also wants to become a vampire, but not because he feels like he belongs in that lifestyle, rather as a form of pure escapism. He's completely dependent on a single person who manipulates him into doing a bunch of, pretty mean things. It might seem like he's breaking out of his confines as well, but in reality, he's just doing what an evil vampire lady is telling him to, as opposed to letting society do the same, which, hey, I guess that is kind of better. So yeah, even though vampires are cool, they also double as a commitment to a certain way of life, which once more ties back to the theme of doing what you really want. Cole wants to be a vampire because he finds the night lifestyle and community fulfilling. He's found friends he values and has learned lots about himself through it, whereas Mahiru is just running away and doing what hot vampire lady is telling him to. Key difference being that one is doing it to come into their own, while the other is doing it to keep abiding to someone's standards. So, okay, vampires cool, night cool, mom is cool, Nasuna is hot. Let's see, yeah, I suppose the way the story is told is pretty cool as well. Lots of nice angles that mimic a movie camera, giving things a real flair. I'm glad to see the anime is adopting that style too. No need to explain any more about the paneling being cool. I'll just let these cool panels run in the background while I do the outro, okay? Alright, so Call of the Night is cool, and it being cool is important. You gotta remember Cole is a middle schooler, and there's nothing more important to a young dude than doing something they find cool, even if it means hanging out with vampires. Cool things are always personal things. You buy a shirt because it's cool. You like a movie because it's cool. You study in a certain field because it's cool. You pick up a hobby because it's cool. You get your ear pierced because it's cool. You buy the spiky off-white Air Forces because you and like 5 other people think they're cool. You want to turn into a vampire because it's cool. And isn't that enough? Aren't the things that will ultimately make you happy the things that you find cool? That's what Call of the Night is all about. Cole travels through the nighttime world, having adventures, meeting, flirting with, and fighting vampires, adopting a lifestyle that for the first time in a while makes him feel fulfilled, because he finds it, and the people that he meets, pretty cool. Alright, that's it.